Today is August 9th edition of Back Roads of Illinois. We were Central Illinois agriculture source, and in the Midwest alongside in Central Illinois agriculture, we're glad you're here. Finally, today is Friday, starting to the weekend. Yes, it is. Okay, this time is serious business for your agricultural news for today. Update on farm loan from the Department of Agriculture. China has drawn out to buy U.S. farmlands. Soybean farmers are concerned about this election season. The Department of Agriculture hasn't updated on their farm loan for the farmers and ranchers in the country, especially in the Midwest. Farm loan is down for the farmers from the Department of Agriculture. China has drawn out to buy U.S. farmlands. Many of the states has passed ban on foreign loan to the U.S. farmlands. The ban from the foreigners in the state and federal lands in the Midwest and across the country. U.S. soybean farmers are concerned about the tariff to China. Some farmers don't want to be reached the tariffs again by Trump or Harris to the farmers. Meanwhile, the markets are reaction from the campaign trail. We were coming back with our guests with Belinda Burriier and Jerry Gilson. John Payne from Advanced Trading on Back Roads of Illinois. Stay tuned. Today, we are here with Belinda Burriier from Maryland, and she is a soybean farmer in Down, Maryland. Welcome to the show. How are you been, Belinda?
Thank you for having me again, Cesar. I really enjoy your program, and I like to share it out amongst my friends. Right now here in Maryland, it is Hurricane Debbie bearing down on us.
Let's start with our conversation about updating on crop progress in Down, Maryland.
Our crop started out slow this year. We had a lot of slug issues and had to replant our soybeans 3 different times. I think that they're finally over the hump. We got a late start on our corn, but it's looking really good. And we just finished top dressing for fungicide and top dressing our fertilizers.
How is the hay production?
Actually, our hay production was really good this year. We had better than expected hay crop. My husband has done a lot of biological additives for our fertilizers, and it seems to have increased our hay production by 30%. So we're actually busting out of our hay sheds, and it's looking like we'll have a pretty good winter selling that crop out of there.
Could you explain to our listeners about the farm bill for right now? Are you close eye on the farm bill?
We have been watching the farm bill. We're quite disappointed that there's no action and that both parties seem to be having a power struggle over making it a political issue, which it shouldn't be. And unfortunately, the farmers and everyone who benefits from the farm bill is kind of held in limbo. So kind of shame on the Congress for not getting this done.
Do you have some concerns about it?
The only concerns we have about the farm bill is to please keep the research and development, all of that kind of issues forefront in the farm bill so that we can stay ahead of what we need as far as American agriculture goes.
Belinda, how is the weather conditions in Mid-Atlantic?
Well, this year really started out really dry, and farmers up and down the East Coast. I'm in Central Maryland, so it affected all of us as far as drought watch went. And then this major hurricane Debbie has showed herself here in Maryland. I know down further in North Carolina, they had over 12 inches of rain. We're pushing 6 inches here in Maryland. Tornadoes have come through. It's actually been a lifesaver as far as the crops go, because of the drought situation, and the rain has come through. So it's actually been a relief to us farmers.
How was the planting season kick off?
Planting season kicked off a little slow due to actually it started pretty good. We could get into the ground pretty quick as far as it went early April, and then slugs started becoming an issue. We replanted 3 different times. The third time was a charm. We got over the slug issue because it started heating up and the slugs went deep into the soil. We didn't have to worry about it. Our corn crop got planted a little later, which actually has been a benefit for us because it came into tassel just after this major heat episode, and we had good pollination. Right now, we just finished up top dressing and applying fungicide, and in the nick of time for all this rainy weather. So I think we're going to be good on the crops.
Is there anything would you like to tell our listeners about the weather, the markets?
As far as it goes, I think that the weather's going to cooperate with us for the rest of the season. So hopefully it will for your area also out in the Midwest. It's been a wild ride. So I guess we're all prepared for that roller coaster, whether we're going up or coming down. I don't know, Cesar, but hopefully we'll have a good harvest.
Do you have any final thoughts?
I really appreciate your coming back to me as far as the interview goes. I totally enjoy your humor, and I hope everybody else gets it. You have very quick wit, and I really appreciate your follow-up and all of the work that you do, Cesar. Thank you so much for your interview.
Thanks, Belinda. This is Belinda Burriier from Maryland on back roads of Illinois. Welcome back to the show. Thanks to Belinda Burriier from Maryland. We're back with Jerry Ggidel from Midland Research in Chicago. We were welcoming him on the show. Welcome to the show. How are you today, Jerry?
I'm doing very well, sir. The markets haven't been doing so well as we wait to see the USDA's August crop report.
Let's start with our conversation about your crop tour in Central Illinois.
Okay, yes. Myself and other friends and associates over the years have been doing a kind of a mini crop tour, leaving from Chicago and going out slightly west and southwest of downtown to Grundy County and Mazon to start a tour that we then go through Grundy County, and then we go down to Livingston, proceed west past I-39, take a look at Woodford County there, and then they proceed around Bloomington, and we take US 51 south to DeWitt County, and then we ended up take basically the Illinois 54, the diagonal route that kind of follows the IC Railroad back towards Chicago. So it hits quite a few of the big central Illinois counties. We don't get to Decatur, we don't get to Champaign, but otherwise, though, this is a tour that's kind of developed primarily to get out and see the crops that are out there in early August and and get a sense of what potential's there. It's not complete. We don't go into Western Illinois, and we don't go to those other counties in Central Illinois. But the consistency is, if there's a good solid crop in Central Illinois, there's probably going to be a good crop overall in the state of Illinois, and that's the purpose of this particular mini tour that we put together. It started back officially. We did a few ones a little bit bigger and wider before after 2000. Well, we kind of veered off and finished up the beans. We didn't finish up the corn numbers, and the results we had from our samples it turned out to be 9 samples in those counties, and it turns out that my count averaged out. Now, this is a simple average. It's not trying to put a number of acres into the thing, anything like that. It's a simple average of the stops we made. In that case, we got 113.7 bushel yield. That's actually up 3.1 bushels from last year. And also, as we talked about in the last few counties, that they were records for those counties. It is the highest one that I've seen since we've done this same basic tour since 2016. And so in that case, that's encouraging. From the standpoint that last year's final yield was 206. And so I kind of feel like the USDA is going to be 210. It might even be as high as 212. That's an interesting one on that. Nationwide, though, I think there's been some dryness in the parts of the Eastern Corn Belt and also Western.
Any final thoughts?
Well, as I said, I think this is a beginning number. August weather is always a major impact. The last few years, we've had a really dry finish on things, and so things have backed off. Right now, the first part of August here has been very positive. So maybe this is the year that we find a number and then we increase it as we go through. But in general here, there's a lot of growing season left, and I think people we'll see how this thing wants to progress, but there's definitely some holes out here in the nationwide yield prospects. It's not just hunky-dory on all areas, and we'll have to see what the USDA gets us some updates on what our harvested acres might be and gets us started for some yields for 2024. The one thing is we've already put in a huge amount of big crop numbers into this thing already. We're down here at $4 or a little less on D's corn. We've been down to $5 in wheat. Beans, we just slipped down into the $10 values at this point. Those are some long-term numbers, and there's a lot of negative investors from the funds in this thing already. So if something isn't as glorious as they anticipate, we could have some bounces around here and see what happens. But they're probably not going to be at $12 corn or back at $12 beans and $5 corn unless we get some issues in South America this winter. But at this point, at least, first part of it is get started on
Thanks,
the
Jerry.
yield crop.
Thanks, Jerry.
You bet. You have a good day, and we'll see what Monday's numbers turn out to be.
This is Jerry Ggidel from Mid Research in Chicago on back roads of Illinois. We were back with John Payne from Advanced Trading for Brady Huck. Thanks to Jerry Ggidel from Midland Research. Otherwise, we were joining us for Brady Huck from Advanced Trading with Brian Basting. How are you today?
Thanks for the opportunity, Cesar. I'm fine, thanks. How about yourself?
I'm great.
Great.
Let's start our conversation about the World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimate report on Monday.
Well, it's an important report, Cesar, because this is the first survey-based estimate of USDA, or beg your pardon, U.S. corn and soybean yields by the USDA. In the May, June, and July supply and demand reports, they used a trend yield estimate. And this report, they've actually gone out and conducted surveys to look at corn yields. So that's important. And also, we'll be looking to see if they make any adjustments in the report on harvested acreage. Because as you and your listeners know, further west in parts of northwest Iowa, southwest Minnesota, and southeast South Dakota, they had some extensive flooding in late June. That flooding would not have been incorporated into the acreage report that was conducted the first 2 weeks in June. So we'll have two variables to look at in this report on Monday. The first variable, of course, will be yield, and the second variable will be harvested acreage. So it's going to be a very important report. It's not the end result. Many years, the final yield varies significantly from this first yield, but that'll be our first estimate from the USDA. We'll also be looking at the Black Sea, specifically Ukraine and Russia, looking at their corn production because it's not been an ideal finish to the growing season in the Black Sea. So those are countries, particularly Ukraine, that compete with the U.S. in the export market for corn. So that'll be something else we're watching on Monday to see if they change those production and export estimates from Ukraine and Russia for corn. Another thing we'll be watching is the production estimate from Brazil for corn. It was 122 million tons in July. The average trade estimate is a little bit lower, 121.5 million tons. So we'll be watching to see if USDA changes that estimate. And we'll also be watching Argentina, where there seems to be a significant discrepancy between what the USDA said in terms of their estimate for Argentina corn production in July compared to what the Buenos Aires exchange says. Buenos Aires exchange, I believe, is 46.5 million tons. USDA was at 52 in July. So those are some components that I would encourage your viewers to look at here going forward in the report, and also, of course, any changes in the domestic demand trends. But it historically has been a significant report.
What is your takes on the report for corn and beans?
What we saw this week, now that trading has concluded, is position evening before the report. We've seen some new lows made today in corn and beans, but that was more of a grinding lower action. It wasn't a sharply lower action. In other words, I think we saw some short covering. We did see confirmation this afternoon in the Commitment of Traders report that the net short position being held by managed money in corn and soybeans, looked at another way, the speculative side, but the managed money as it's defined by the Commitment of Traders report, that number declined. So some of those short positions were offset I think that report is conducted through Tuesday of this week. So in other words, we did see some profit taking on those short positions. We did see the managed money take some money off the table. But since that report was compiled on Tuesday, of course, the market has continued lower. As I said, we do make new contract lows here on Friday for both corn and new crop corn and new crop beans. So the price action is weaker. You look at historical trends into the late summer time period, which is what we're entering closer to now, is generally bearish. As we see any cleanup of old crop sales, and if the crop is in good condition, the market tends to grind lower. But what I would conclude from this week was we did see some profit taking, and we did see just a little bit of a grind lower on Thursday and Friday, looking at the short-term weather trends for next week, which continue to be favorable.
Do you have some concerns about recession is spilling over the commodities markets?
That's a very good question. Yes, I do have some concern there. It's a black swan event, if you, because of the temperatures are usually warm. People on vacation, they're not cooking out as much. You don't have as many picnics, that type of thing, which we do see quite a bit of course, around Memorial Day and 4th of July. So the beef demand is weak historically during this mid to late summer time period, but we did see that this week up until Friday. We did see a bit of a recovery here on Friday.
Do you have any final thoughts?
Just underscore that anytime you're dealing with markets, you're dealing with unpredictability. The price action day to day, minute to minute is unpredictable. We just don't know what's going to happen. And now we've got so much going on geopolitically worldwide. We've got uncertainty about our economy here in the U.S. A lot of variables. If you look at the grain market, it's a large short position being held by the managed money. And it underscores what you said a moment ago, that when you look at the influence, the possible influence of a black swan event, for example, I would have to categorize, at least for this week, that the meltdown in the stock market we saw on Friday and Monday was a black swan event for the cattle market. It didn't influence grains quite as much, but all those things remind us that price is unpredictable. You want to defend your balance sheet. And how do you do that as a grower, whether you're a producer of cattle or a producer of corn and beans? Utilize the tools that are available to you in the markets to manage price movement, and rather than predict price movement, because price prediction is impossible. But just remind your viewers that there are tools available you can use to protect yourself against adverse moves in the market.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Cesar.
This is Brian Basting from Advanced Trading for Brady Huckford Back Roads of Illinois. This is your commodity markets update on Back Roads of Illinois. Corn futures finished and down 8 to 9 cents. Soybean futures finished and down 4 to 6 cents. Wheat futures finished and down 7 to 9 cents. Cattle futures finished and up 8 to 9 cents. Feeder cattle finished and up 4 to 5 cents. Lean hogs finished and up 8 to 9 cents. Crude oil finished and up 2 to 4 cents. Dow Jones finished and up 10 points. Thanks to Belinda Burriier and Jerry Gilson. Brady Huck from Advanced Trading. We're running out of time on our show, but you can listen to our show on YouTube and whenever you get your podcast. For Back Roads of Illinois, I am Cesar Delgado. Have a great weekend.